Go ahead.
Session 0? No!
I'm Chance, and I'm here to talk about the controversial, the dreaded, the delightful Session 0. What is Session 0? Well, it's a meeting of the players before the game. Why should you have one? Some groups need one. And what gets done at a Session 0 really depends on the group of people. Has it always existed? No. It's kind of a new thing. Or it wasn't called Session 0 and it didn't have the same denotations that it has now. God, how to really grasp this and just bring out the notes that really need to be brought out, you know? Typically, I don't hold a Session 0, but I kind of do. Kind of always have. And I know that's going to sound funny. The first meeting for my players is usually character creation. And during character creation, I go over the ins and outs of what to expect in the campaign. This is also a time for me to get feedback and backstory for the characters. And start seeing how to work that in. Now, my players have a strong stomach. And I am a bit of a horror DM. Am I a horrific DM? No. But I like to put my players in horror-like situations. I love horror movies. So what's the ticket? Some people are not so strong of stomach. Some people have emotional baggage. Some people, for whatever reason, cannot handle certain topics. And if that's the kind of game you want to run, something hard and vicious and dark, maybe don't include those players in your game. Maybe don't include those players in your group if your group is full of gritty, dark people who are going to do gritty, dark things. Or the vice versa. If you're a group of heroic heroes who hero about doing hero things in a bright and shiny world where evil is rare. Well, first of all, why are you adventurers? Won't compare. It's hard because storytelling is hard. But there are some topics that, and trigger warning for those of you who are not good with hard topics, there are people who have suffered sexual assault, violence, including domestic violence, or real life tragic events And those people might not necessarily be able to handle facing those topics again, especially in their escapist fantasy. Should these people be excluded from gaming? Absolutely not. But maybe they aren't a good fit for your group. These are things to determine at session 0. You've got to sit down with your players and tell them what kind of story you plan to tell. And tell them what kind of topics might come up. And sometimes this doesn't always work. I have had a player freak out in-game because somebody was sucked out into space, and that was just too horrific for her. In a space battle, a hull rupture, there is a limit to what session 0 can do. I'm never going to run a game where people don't die, they only get really big boo-boos. That's not how I run it. It's never going to be how I run it. If you get skewered through the heart, you're a dead motherfucker. Your character will die. Some people can't handle that shit. Some people probably shouldn't be playing D&D, but they are. And you've got to expect to talk to these people, because as much as you don't want to cause some kind of emotional trauma to a player, you don't want one of these weird freakouts in the middle of your campaign. Death, destruction, dying, violence, complicated topics, drug use. Again, sexual assault is a topic that shouldn't really be in your D&D game, at least portrayed. But it does sometimes happen. And it's these topics that are hard to balance, because D&D is such a dark game. And you've got to balance on that knife of reality and fantasy. What would realistically happen? What's a fantasy reaction? And it's not always easy to strike that balance. And I hear a lot of horror stories. I read them on Reddit. I see them in videos here on YouTube. And I do plan to make a video for each category. Each category of problem player and how to deal with them. Problem is pretty sure that at least my own personal way of dealing with such players is usually fuck out of my campaign. I personally don't put up with creepy behavior towards another player. I don't put up with political bullying, religious bullying. I've had people that have left campaigns that would have otherwise been tossed out. I don't allow religion and politics to get brought into my table. Those are big no-nos I bring up at session 0. I have some strong political beliefs, I don't share them with people. But I don't want to be shared. I don't want you to share yours with me either. I'm not here to preach to you that I believe lower taxes is going to fix a lot of problems. It's not why you're here. It's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell a story with you. I'm either here to run a game or I'm here to play a game. I'm not here for any of that other bullshit. My religious views are my own. I keep them close to the chest. You should too. I'm not here for dating. I'm not here to start a real-life romance with one of my players. I'm not here to start a real-life romance with one of the other players. These are the thought processes that need to be going through your head when you fucking go to start a D&D game. And sometimes people don't think right. And you really have to sit down and go, okay, what are the ways we weed this out? And hopefully a lot of this shit gets banged out in session 0. Now, a DM may also have emotional hang-ups, and that's okay too. See, I don't give a fuck if I offend you as a DM. There are a lot of dark subject matters that'll come up in my game. I had one character that was killed by brainwashed children and eaten. Yes, I was running a classic adventure, Grandmother's House in 3.5 D&D. Heroes of Horror is my homie. But that's me. And not every player that I encounter is going to like that style of game. I can think of up to 4 people who are good friends, who are upset by such subject matter. And you've got to look at, I like to think of it, movie ratings. There's PG, PG-13, rated R, and then unrated, rated X. Typically, I go rated X, at least with gore and violence and realistic situations. You can look at a lot of things like World War I. God, there were a lot of war crimes. There were a lot of war crimes that weren't considered war crimes yet because nobody had done something that fucked up. It's dark subject matter. It really happened. It's not a game. So, you also need to let your players know. You need to. It's a fact. You need to let your players know that shit's gonna be real. If you're gonna run a game that is just brutal, you need to let your players know. You need to communicate these things. For instance, a Call of Cthulhu game is in my opinion, the perfect opportunity to let your dark freak flag fly, because evil shit in a horror campaign should be expected. But if you have a bunch of people who tell you that there are a bunch of topics they can't handle, and they tell you that there are things where they draw the line, you've got to understand that those are boundaries and you shouldn't be crossing them. At least as long as they're reasonable. If you've got somebody who's been the victim of SA, maybe don't bring it up repeatedly. I don't know why you would. I don't know why I have to touch on this topic in specific, but seems to be a major horror. But I've got other things where it's not reasonable for somebody to ask the DM not to do it. Such as killing somebody in the vacuum of space. Explosive decompression is a thing. God, it gets so complicated, and it shouldn't be. But Session 0 is especially important for the DM to tell the players what's expected. The DM is the DM is the DM. You're in charge of making sure everything runs right. You should take feedback. You should understand where players are coming from. You should also be able to maybe take some criticism. It's not always going to be easy to please everybody. And that's where Session 0 really comes in. Making sure that the players and the DM all mesh well. This is also why I do not believe in paid DMs. Sorry. Bullshit. Being a DM is a bit of a job. But it's not something you can expect to be paid for. You shouldn't be able to expect to be paid for it. Let's be fucking honest here. It's fun. It's a game. It's a hobby. I don't expect to be paid when I go to the game shop and pull out my nicely painted War Machines army and play a game. Was it hard work to paint it? Yes. Is it a pain in the ass for me to drag it across town, or in my case, all the way to Girard? Yes. But I'm doing it of my own volition. It is a hobby. And if you are taking people's money for a game, if you are, you especially need... Sorry, I got a bit of a head cold. A Session 0. Because this is no longer your story. This is a paid product. Paid. You have received money for this transaction. And I'll get into paid DMs in their own video. That's for fucking sure. Hello, Mocha. Is Daddy getting too serious? Was Daddy getting too serious? Look at the camera. Mwah. This is my silly pupperdo. This is Mocha. Longtime viewers of my videos know who Mocha is. Your Mocha puppy. My baby. My Mocha puppy. Alright, she's not a puppy anymore. She's been not a puppy for a very long time. Yeah, you're just an attention whore. Yes, you are. You're an attention puppy. Huh? What? Okay. You just went outside. Anyways. So Session Zero is kind of cringy. As an older gamer, it seems kind of stupid. But let me give you some examples of times back in my day. DMs didn't have Session Zero. We didn't have safe spaces. Oh God, we still don't. I'm sorry. D&D is not a safe space. D&D is D&D. If you feel the need to crawl into a corner and cry and color in a coloring book or whatever the fuck they do in safe spaces, it sounds ridiculous, then go do that. Don't come to the D&D table. Sorry. God, you guys should hear my rants on electric cars. It's similarly bad. Safe spaces are cringy, and by virtue of that, a lot of older gamers view Session Zero as cringy. Because a lot of limp-wristed, weak-minded people decided to pick up D&D and try to make it all about them. I don't consent to you killing my character. Motherfucker, when people are murdered in the real world, do they consent to jack shit? No! It's not like the people who are murder victims are like, yes, please kill me. Can I get a side of horrible pain with that? No. You can't sanitize D&D. Not possible. But it shouldn't be sanitized. However, it also should be free of horrible things. Let me give you some good examples of things DMs should never do. I heard a horror story where a PC got captured and the DM graphically described the enemy guards and soldiers sexually assaulting the player's character. That bullshit should never happen. Ever. Christ, I shouldn't even need to explain why rape is bad. Does it happen? Yes. And in an argument of realism, they're the bad guys. But it is also one of the most vile, evil, dark, and traumatic things that can ever happen to a human being. There is the bad guys being bad guys, but you shouldn't describe something like that in detail. Hell, you shouldn't even describe that in lacking detail. If you want to have a scene like that in your game to bring out the gritty realness, talk to the player. Take them aside. Discuss with them the bad things that could happen. You know, it would be a more acceptable fucking alternative to rape? Torture porn. Electric shock cables and shit. Yes, I am having to explain why limiting bad guys is a good thing, and that's because people keep going overboard. I shouldn't have to. It should be something that can go without stating. It should be something that can be ignored. Session 0 is a place for everybody to lay their cards on the table. All out there. This is what I'm okay with. And you shouldn't try to tie the hands of your DM because if you have a problem with violence, you shouldn't be playing D&D. D&D is a game of violence. You are going around killing shit. You should have that expectation that something may kill you right back. However, you should feel safe at the game table from ridicule for your sexual orientation, ridicule for your religious or political beliefs. You should feel free of racism or any form of discrimination that is not okay. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. People should be safe from those things. There's a difference between a namby-pamby safe space and being a fucking piece of shit. Don't be a piece of shit. This is a topic I wasn't sure if I would cover at all, and then I decided to cover it in the beginning. God, I don't even... Let there be light! I'm gonna shed some light on this a little bit. Alright, I meant for that to be more dramatic and less awkward, but a little tingling noise, and I've got kind of a chandelier thing going on up there, and yeah, fuck it. Playing D&D is supposed to be fun, relaxing, engaging, and a group activity. And maybe sometimes it's okay and it's fun to push the limits. I do. I push the limits on my players in different ways. A lot of different ways. I've pushed moral quandaries on my players. And they have given me a chance to feel impressed by the people I play with. There are some people I couldn't be more proud to have sitting at my table. But I also respect my players. I push them, but I respect them. They are my friends, my family, my loved ones. Maybe the people you're playing with you don't know as well as I know mine. And maybe you need to take a step back, just a little one, and think, maybe I should have a session 0. Maybe I should get to know these people. Maybe I should lay my cards on the fucking table and be honest about the kind of shit that I want to throw at them. See, my players already know. I pull out Heroes of Horror and Ravenloft, and they know what's coming. I pull out Iron Kingdoms, they know shit's getting real. But those are the players I've been playing with for fucking decades. Or at least years. Fuck, my buddy Tons, I've been playing with since I was 17. I'm 35. If I don't know his preclusions and what'll fucking flip his wig by now. You know what makes him uncomfortable? Scorpions. Everybody has a thing that will creep them out without having to be a weird, bizarre sadist. As a DM, you may have a predilection of sadism. It's okay, so do I. But that doesn't mean you need to be an unhealthy, evil bastard. If you need some dude on the internet to tell you to not be an evil prick, maybe you shouldn't be playing role-playing games. Or maybe you should seek counseling help right the fuck away. Darkness in healthy amounts can be cathartic for a player. Oh, I defeated the big evil. Oh, this guy is so nasty and so vile that I've got to kill him. This is why I don't run evil campaigns. When I was in high school, I ran an evil campaign. And I couldn't have had a session 0. First of all, the people I was playing with were way darker than I was. Tons was not included in this list. They were way darker than me. In a lot of ways. And they did things that I could not have anticipated. And instead of stepping back and going, whoa guys, I'm uncomfortable with this, I kept playing. I kept DMing. And there were things that took place in that game that turned my stomach and made me look at those people very, very differently. Now, that could probably be a horror story I could post on r/RPG horror stories. I'm not going to because first of all, I don't really go on Reddit very much. And second of all, we were all teenagers, and I don't feel those people who grew up to be fairly healthy-minded individuals really need called out. Luckily, I don't actually remember names. There was a guy named Dan. Fuck. Session Zero, while it's a new thing, can be a good thing. It gives everybody a chance to know what's going on, know what's expected, and know what's going to happen. Not know what's going to happen, right? But if somebody says, hey, I can't handle this subject matter, either don't cover that subject matter, or find somebody who can fill that spot in the party without being upset by that kind of material. The whole group needs to gel when you're running a D&D campaign. Sometimes you can get away with people who don't quite work together. I have a friend, Liz, and her and my friend Josh do not really mesh. They have diametrically opposed political views. And in the end, Liz decided to bring up her political views and kind of wave them at Josh. And Josh fired back. And it's a great example of why during Session Zero I say no politics at the table. Because Josh got angry, Liz got angry, and Liz and her girlfriend left the table. Gone, 2 players. It killed that campaign. But me, as the DM, should have shut that shit down better. And I didn't. And that's my fuck up. You need to... Session Zero is about more than just topics of coverage. It's where you lay down the ground rules for the group. When I'm at my game table, what happens at the game table is not real life. And what happens in real life should not affect the game table. This is escapist fucking fantasy. Escapist fantasy, right? I may be stressed. Chance Wilson may be fucking guy with a bunch of problems. That's me. But when I'm the DM, I'm not fucking going, oh, my heating bill is coming due. Time to take it out on my players. No. Just as much as... I'm sure you all get the idea. The other thing is Session Zero is a time to make the characters, to approve the characters. If somebody builds a character you don't like, tell them at Session Zero. Hey, you need to make something else. Don't go fucking punishing them throughout the campaign because you let them play something that doesn't jive well. DMing is hard. It's not easy. And covering all of these topics like I am is going to hopefully make you guys better players. So, end of the day, end of the story, end of the topic, you should have a Session Zero. Even for you old school gamers like me. Yeah, we grew up playing second. Yeah, we grew up playing 3-5. Yeah, we're not so touchy-feely. But not everybody else is going to have the same kind of game expectations that we did. And some people are a little less adept at conflict resolution. Also, if you are adverse to conflict, maybe being a DM is not the job for you, because sometimes you got to be that guy that goes, hey, cut it out. And sometimes you've got to have a bit of bite to your bark. See, I can be that guy because I can be a dick. Hey, cut that out, or. And that or is usually, I will kick you out of the campaign. I will find another player. Oh god, this has turned into a huge rant. And hopefully, it's one that people like. You know, in the beginning of the video, I thought it would be funny to open with a little bit of a extreme reaction to things. But with all that said, with everything covered that I really wanted to cover, I want you guys to know to be friends, to be good to each other, and to keep adventuring. There we are.